Hey, how's it going, traders? Thanks for checking out this video. My name is Travis from Master the Market, and in this one we're going to talk about how to find stocks before they break out. So if you feel like a lot of times you buy stocks after they've already had their big move and you're kind of chasing at that point, setting yourself up for failure, this is going to help you find these stocks before they have those explosive runs to the upside so that you can get in on these plays early on and set yourself up to potentially make some really big returns on your investments. So without wasting any time, the first way that you're going to potentially find these explosive stocks before they explode is to look for what are known as sympathy plays. Now, a sympathy play is going to happen when a stock has a major run to the upside. So whether that be an intraday run of 100, 200, 300%, or maybe it's one of those stocks that is kind of a multi-day runner that's spiking up over the course of an entire week. Whatever it may be, whenever there's a huge move to the upside in the stock market, that type of move is a lot of times going to cause these sympathy plays, which are just going to be stocks that are closely related to that leader. So what we can do is we can look for these similar stocks that are similar underlying companies that also have similar market cap sizes to that leader stock, and we can invest in them as sympathy plays, which many times end up having just as big of a run as that leader stock actually did. Okay, so a very common example of this is what we see a lot of times happen is some kind of biotech stock will put out a press release talking about the drug or the treatment that they're currently working on. And if they had some kind of positive news for that drug or that treatment, of course their stock is going to positively react to that news, and it's most likely going to have a run to the upside. And if that run is big enough to cause these sympathy plays, what we see happen is a lot of other similar biotech companies that are working on similar treatments and similar drugs are also going to kind of start to pick up some momentum to the upside as well. So just to kind of give you a quick example of this, we have the leader stock here, MRIN. Now MRIN was a big runner over the course of a little bit over a week's time frame. We saw it spike from under $2 per share up to a high of $27.26. Now a big run like that, of course, is going to cause many sympathy plays, and we actually did see many stocks kind of exactly follow this run. But the most notable of those with the most volume that actually had the biggest run was the stock BLIN. Now, BLIN was the sympathy play to the leader, MRIN. And just this sympathy play alone, without even catching the leader and without even investing in the leader, you could have made a huge return by getting in this stock early on as a sympathy play. And it ended up spiking from about $2.50 per share up to a high of over $14 per share in under a week. And if we take a look at some of the information behind these companies and behind these stocks themselves, first and foremost, the sector and kind of the industry of these stocks is both in the technology and software sector. And that's a very important thing when it comes to finding these sympathy plays. First and foremost, they have to be in the same sector and they kind of have to be dealing with the same things in order for them to be a potential sympathy play. And in this case, because they are both dealing with technology and software, that alone is going to make BLIN a very good candidate for a sympathy play to the leader MRIN. Another thing is that we want to see they have a similar market cap size, and we see that MRIN's market cap is 93 million and BLIN's market cap is 49 million. Now both of those are very, very small market caps in the grand scheme of the stock market, and because of that they are similar enough for BLIN to be a potential sympathy play. And last but not least, another thing that you want to look for is the number of shares outstanding that this company has. So the leader MRIN in this case has about 10.3 million shares outstanding, and BLIN has about 6.4 million shares outstanding. Now because a lot of stocks actually have over a billion shares outstanding, these are both very small numbers, and actually most of the time when it comes to looking for these big spikes in the market, the smaller the better when it comes to the number of shares outstanding. And that's because you can think of these shares outstanding as the total amount of supply the stock has. So when there's a large amount of volume, which kind of represents the demand, and a small number of supply or shares outstanding, that's going to play a huge role in how these stocks trade. And that's actually going to give them the potential they have for a massive spike up like we saw both of them have. Okay, so to recap, when there is a major run up in the market, you can take a look at that leader stock and you can kind of break it down and look for similar stocks within the same sector with similar market cap sizes, and also ideally with a similar number of shares outstanding to find these potential sympathy plays and to start putting some money into them before they start to run up and kind of follow that leading stock. Now, another way to find these stocks and invest in them before they explode is to look for hot sectors of the market. At any given time, there's really going to be one sector of the market which is kind of outperforming the other sectors, whether that be technology, whether that be biotech, whether that be financial. We even saw for a period of time that there were stocks just dealing with electric vehicles that were really kind of popping off. Whatever the sector may be, you can look for undervalued stocks within that hot sector of the market, and you can invest in them before they also explode, along with the rest of the sector. So if you've been trading for a little while at this point, if you think back to kind of when COVID-19 really started to take over and everything was kind of getting shut down and lockdowns all around the world were taking place, at that time it seemed like every single stock that was spiking up was a stock dealing with a company that was kind of selling masks or looking for a treatment for COVID-19. Even companies that were simply selling hand sanitizer had stocks that were popping off at that time just because they were somewhat related to COVID-19 and healthcare. And that's a really good example for looking for these undervalued stocks in a hot sector that again have potential to kind of catch up with the entire sector and have a big spike up. Another example is if we take a look at the cannabis sector of the market. Early on during 2021, in the first quarter of the year, there was a lot going on with the cannabis sector of the market. We saw a lot of legalization worldwide dealing with cannabis and marijuana. And because of that, there were tons of stocks within this cannabis sector of the market that had huge runs to the upside because of it. So for example, one of the most notable was TLRY. We saw that TLRY went from about $4 per share up to a high of $67 per share within about this 3-month time frame. We saw CGC go from a low of under $14 per share up to a high of over $56 per share. We saw ACB go from a low of under $4 per share up to almost $19 per share. And we saw SNDL go from under 14 cents per share up to a high of almost $4 per share. Now, these are just a few examples, but really the entire cannabis sector and just about every single stock in the market that was dealing with cannabis at that time had some kind of spike to the upside along with these 4 stocks. So that just really goes to show how effective it can be to, kind of look for these undervalued stocks in a sector that is really hot at the time and invest in them before they really start to explode to the upside. Another very popular example is, of course, with the crypto sector of the market. During late 2020 and early 2021, when Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies really started to skyrocket and make new highs, we saw that there were a ton of different small cap stocks that also are dealing with Bitcoin and different blockchains that were really starting to spike up as well. One of the most notable of those stocks was Riot, which went from under $3 per share up to a high of $79.50. We saw MARA go from a low of under $2 per share up to $57.75. DPW went from under $2 per share to $10.94. And last but not least, we saw NCTY go from about $2 per share up to almost $90 per share. So some really, really explosive gains with the stocks in this sector of the market. Again, just like the cannabis sector, these are just a few of the examples, but just about every stock dealing with crypto or some kind of blockchain at the time was also running along with these 4 stocks. Okay, so what you can do is if you kind of know which sector is currently hot in the market, you can use some kind of scanner or some kind of screener to look for different stocks in that sector. For example, I'm here on finbiz.com, and if you click on screener up in the top left, it's going to give you a completely free screener to look for these types of stocks. And let's just say that you know every single stock that's kind of running at this current time is going to be in the healthcare sector of the market. And kind of to break it down even further, you can look for that specific industry, and let's just say that it's biotechnology. You can look for only biotech stocks. And you can, of course, add in some more criteria, like the number of shares outstanding, the market cap, the price of the stock, and so on and so forth, just to kind of narrow this list down even further. But once you do this, you're only going to find stocks in that hot sector of the market, which are all going to be potential investments that have the potential to explode and kind of follow along with the momentum that the entire sector has. Now, another way that you can go about this is to kind of go up to the search bar, and let's just say that you were looking for a potential sympathy play for MRIN. We would search in MRIN, and it's going to give you some information about the stock and about the company. And instead of screening for different sectors like we did just a moment ago, you can see exactly which sector and which industry this stock is. So if there's a big runner currently happening and you want to know which sector it's in to potentially look for other stocks within that sector, you can just search it here on FinViz, look at the sector and look at the industry. And actually, if you click on the industry, this is going to show us only stocks that are in the software application industry of the market, which is what the stock MRIN is in. And by doing this, it's also going to give you a list of potential sympathy plays that are also in a really well-performing sector and industry of the market. All right, so those two things, by looking for sympathy plays and by looking for which sectors of the market are hot at the time, are two really great ways to find stocks and invest in them before they explode to the upside. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and found some value within it. If you did, please make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. And if you want to learn more about day trading, swing trading, and even long-term investing, as well as have access to our exclusive market resources and our trading chat room with over 1,000 active traders in it daily, all of that can be found on my website, Master the Market, which is going to be linked down below in the description. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next video, good luck with your trading.